My name is Amy Reardon. I am the Outreach Specialist with Delaware Commute Solutions, and I am joined with my team, Kathleen Greer, Sarah Bett, and James Williams on the call as well, and our guest speaker, Kathy Smith with DART. And before we get into DART, I just want to, excuse me, take just a few minutes to go over Delaware Commute Solutions in case anybody is new and not familiar with the program and who we are. So Delaware Commute Solutions is a free commuter program under DART, and we work with employers, employees, higher education, higher education students and community organizations to assist with transportation options by encouraging clean commuting. And our goal is to reduce the number of single occupancy vehicles on our roadways, and we're also helping you by providing you your transportation options. So when I mentioned clean commuting options, some of you may already be doing these, but here is a list of those options that you can look into. And we can go to the next slide. So again, some of you may be doing these, which is great. I encourage that if you are and you're not a Delaware Commute Solutions member, to please sign up and to utilize the free benefits that are there for anybody who lives, works, goes to school in Delaware. But clean commuting options obviously involve transit throughout the state of Delaware, carpooling, biking and walking, van pooling, compressed work weeks, and working from home. So if you're doing these, that's great. You're already taking a step to helping Delaware Commute Solutions with our goal. But if you're also interested just to see what your options are, we can also help with those customized commute plan options for you. Now, with that, we are going to head into our DART info series, and I want to thank Kathy Smith, who is the Deputy Chief Customer Experience Officer with DART, and I am going to turn it over to her.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much. And I'm so glad, Amy, that you told my title. It is so long. It's just a tongue twister. It's like, okay, I got to sit here and say it slowly because it's a lot of words. But thank you. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to be here with you this morning on your info series with the transit talks. My apologies for the technical glitch there. It's either I have a voice and audio or camera, but not both together. So we'll make it work. But this is a great opportunity to reframe the conversation around public transportation in the first state. Next slide, please. So at DART, we start with our mission is connecting you to what matters, every ride, every customer, and every day, which encompasses our vision. We strive to provide a safe, reliable, and convenient ride to everyone, every customer, to have an excellent experience with every interaction, and every day connecting people to their destinations throughout the state and the region. Next slide, please. At DTC, we have an environmental statement. We are committed to providing public transportation service that protects and preserves the environment with every trip on our DART services and every dollar invested in green technology. Next, please. So I thought it was interesting when I was asked to do this talk here, and not just an overview of transit. We've done that before. I was a guest last year when we talked about the footprint of what DART Transit encompasses statewide with the DART Reimagined plan. So this time we took a new perspective here, looking at driving Delaware's economy and the power of transit partnerships. So historically, our public transit has been viewed primarily as a social service lens. And a lot of people think of it as a safety net for those without options. And while that mission is critical and vital, that's only half of our story. And I found an interesting statistic there. In 2026, DTC, we contribute to that critical economic pillar for the state of Delaware. And I thought we can think of transit as like the connective tissue in our state's 80 billion plus economy. Next slide, please. So today I wanted to explore how strategic state investments and really get into some nitty-gritty of the collaborative networks that DART, as Delaware Transit Corporation planners, our facilities, our operations folks, how we contribute to some of these economic infrastructure investments and how these collaborative networks directly fuel the workforce, help accelerate commerce in the state of Delaware, and help sustain the tourism industry and keep Delaware competitive, fiercely competitive on that national stage. Next slide, please. So when you look at Delaware and you think about the three pillars of Delaware's economy here, our strategic vision is built to support these three pillars in Delaware's economic engine. And we can't think of transit as an isolated budget item, because all the infrastructure investment that is for transit, we directly impact all three of these sectors here. So when we invest in DART in the state of Delaware, you as the community and the business community, we are directly investing in that labor availability for employers, helping the operational efficiency for businesses, and creating access for our visitors who are experiencing our tourism there and that tourism connectivity. So if we look at it a little bit more strategically, the workforce mobility there, we expand the labor pool. We allow employers to grow, and they need access to talent. And by using DART, they're able to expand that geographic reach of people who want to reach a business, and connecting those rural, suburban, and urban areas. So when you think of just a localized labor pool, we really expand that geographic reach and that talent base, and we pull that into more of a unified statewide workforce. With transit and workforce mobility, we support our essential industries. When you think about healthcare, we're really rapidly expanding into this logistics and these manufacturing centers throughout the state. And, we want to ensure that this modern workforce can get to work reliably and on time. Another important factor in workforce mobility is we help economic relief for workers. You think about the rising vehicle cost and inflation, the cost of living place a very heavy burden on our workers. And if you think of transit, I thought it was a neat analogy there. If you think of it as an immediate pay raise, we can drastically lower those commute expenses. And, if you have a reliable way to work, increases for the employer and the employee the job retention, and helps create that financial stability for Delaware families. The next one on commerce and business pillar, this really helps with that first to last mile, and we can help with some connectivity there and linking some of the major rail hubs, like you can use rail, access Amtrak and SEPTA, to get access to some of these commercial corporate campuses, the downtown centers like the city of Wilmington and different towns, Dover. And we really help solve that last mile challenge to get people access to commerce and businesses there. And also, transit contributes to boosting retail and small businesses there in those accesses. We increase that foot traffic, we get them there, so it increases that foot traffic. And we really can deliver those consumers directly to the businesses. And particularly, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, this is more from the governor, the state of Delaware's governor, they have designated downtown development districts. So the infrastructure there and the supportive infrastructure with transit helps people to have access and to access downtown districts there. We also help, if you think about decongesting some of the major thoroughfares there. We move about 68 million tons of freight in Delaware, and every rider who chooses, to use the DART bus or take microtransit in some of the smaller towns, we have it in Newark, Seaford, and Millsboro. Think of it as one less single occupancy vehicle clogging the roadways and some of the major roadways. Think about I-95 Route 1, where it's really allowing more of that commerce with freight and logistics and their operations to move faster and more efficiently. In the last pillar, tourism, tourism is a massive driver for Delaware, and particularly in our coastal communities. And with DART, we can really help alleviate some of that congestion that can really paralyze economic growth for those areas in the coastal communities. We have our beach bus service, those seasonal services in Sussex County, and they really do some critical missions there. We support the vital seasonal workforce to supply them with employees for their hotels, the restaurants, the retail, and the other critical mission that we do is we move thousands of tourists in and around this area without requiring them to bring their car to the beach. And all of that just equates into a really wonderful customer experience, especially if you're visiting our coastal communities. And we even, with the transit, we've made it easier with some of our technology and accessing with fare payments with the DART Pass, the mobile app, and scheduling and trying to find out where your bus is with real-time tracking. And this is a real benefit, a premium benefit, especially for people who are tourists or out-of-state visitors. And this can help assimilate them to use our transit systems and encourage them to leave their cars behind and visit Delaware and spend more of their time and their money here and boosting our local economies. So this is an interesting statistic here is every dollar invested in public transit generates $4 in economic return. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? So none of this happens in a vacuum, and the power of the transit lies with our collaborative networks. Next page, please, in collaboration. So some of these ways we're engaged with the infrastructure and how we contribute to these economic pillars here is integrated land use planning. We are involved with the PLUS process, and this is through the Office of Planning and Office of Planning and State Coordination. This is a branch of the governor's cabinet here, and the PLUS process stands for the Preliminary Land Use Service Act, and it really is vital because it brings not only transit, but you have housing, you have DENREC with the environmental, you bring all of the agencies together before the actual application and everything goes through the review process, and they have a chance to identify, our needs and what can be supportive for each agency as far as infrastructure needs and the impact of the different developments, or also comprehensive plans also go through this PLUS process. Another very critical process that we are part of, and we're very unique in Delaware in that most transit agencies are regulated by a transit board, but we are part of the DOT, Department of Transportation, so we have a unique opportunity to be directly involved with the planning development coordination section. And what this is that we are able to review subdivisions and street entrances. The DOT will take these applications and look at every developer who is trying to have access to our transportation system. And with this, we're allowed to look at this and to ask for transit supportive infrastructure, looking at bus pullovers, bus stops, amenities for bus stops, what different things that we need to support, crosswalks, all the different kinds of infrastructure here. And we're able to do that in this land use planning process, which is pretty unique there. Next slide, please. Another way that we really are integrated with on this land use side is with the county and regional planning alignments. We actively participate with our metropolitan planning organizations, and in Delaware they are WMAPCO, which encompasses Newcastle County and Cecil County. The Dover MPO is all of Kent County. Salisbury Wycomico, we are not a voting member there, but we do participate. And if you think about it branches over into the western portion of Sussex County. If you think about, things are transboundary, there's not distinct boundaries. So, we even go into, some of our services go into Maryland. It doesn't stop at the border of the state. And also the county land use departments. We really work with them and look at their comprehensive growth plans. And again, we will review, and they're heavily engaged with this plus process and letting us take a look at these subdivision reviews and make comments as far as transit supportive infrastructure. And I went ahead and listed here some things, because you may be thinking, well, what does the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, they are a federal agency, and what can they do with us, and how can they assist DTC? And they are integral in helping us secure and program federal funding. And, we really need their support when we apply for federal grants, and we have to coordinate with them and the long range visions that they have a metropolitan or regional plan. Sometimes they call them the RTP, which is a regional transportation plan, or an MTP, a metropolitan transportation plan. And we make sure our transit is integrated into these long range regional plans. They help us tremendously with data and technical modeling, looking at data and demographics, and, where are the demographics that support transit, traditional fixed route transit with densities, and looking at, they have a congestion mitigation group that looks at travel times and the average daily traffic, and lots of, you could have a whole course on this, a whole lecture on this part of it, but they help tremendously with that and that data sharing. Again, we talked about the cross-border connectivity, and we also piggyback on the MPO process to help with our capital investments for transit. The first 4 years of our capital transportation plan, a capital transportation plan is 6 years through the state DOT. That first 4 years is essentially the MPO's TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, and that feeds into that 6-year plan. So we have to go out and we have to make sure the public's aware, and we do outreach, and we have to prioritize, and we have to make sure it's equitable and show, that we are having an even distribution of where we're making investments. It's not just in, the higher income areas, it's equitably distributed across the state. And another really important goal that we work with the MPOs is on air quality and meeting those emission standards that we have to meet and the environmental sustainability goals. Next slide, please. This is part of the Office of State Planning and Coordination that we talked about earlier, and they have a state strategies for policies and spending, and this really speaks to smart growth and alignment of investment of infrastructure in the state of Delaware. And this is part of the PLUS process where we go through. They have essentially 4 levels of investment, and they really target transit in those first 2 levels where infrastructure already exists there. Some of those levels that are outside are, have low density, farm fields or more rural areas. And they also have one other level called out of play, which is more environmentally protected or wetlands or lands that are protected through DENRIC and the state policies there. So this is really good. This gives us strength and showing that, yes, if you're a new development and you're developing in some of these levels 1 and 2, you have the socio-demographic infrastructure support there where you have the density, you have the grid network, the roadway network that is there, and it's easier for transit to serve you. It's more cost effective to serve you with transit in the first place and with higher frequency transit in those investment levels 1 and 2. Next slide, please. Now, as part of DELDOT, all of this is, if you're seeing a theme here, it's all very intertwined here. So DELDOT, not only with the subdivision and working with them with that PDCA process, they are involved with the county land use and agency coordination, and they have developed, it's in a longer term 20-year planning horizon, and looking at these transportation investment districts known as TIDs. And these help establish boundaries with local comprehensive plans. Each each municipality or town has to have comprehensive plans, and there's comprehensive plans in each of the counties here. And they look at things such as traffic studies, traffic impact studies, looking at what are the infrastructure needs that are going to be a result of increased traffic and the types of businesses that are located there. Every trip starts with an origin and a destination. So you're looking at the types of development that are going into each of these areas. And they look at funding mechanisms, and they have a formula here where they can look at collecting developer contributions up front. So all the burden, like if you think about, let's think of an example like in a Kent County rural area where a roadway had farms, and now the farms have been sold and there's development. There's lots of dense development there. The roadway is 2-lane, 1 lane in each direction, no shoulder, and you increase the trip origin there of people living in this residential neighborhood, and you have all the people coming out to, say, the roadway, we'll say of Kent County, the US 13, trying to access employment or whatever their destination is. They're all coming to that central point. And if you have a 2-lane roadway, you're eventually going to need to widen that roadway where you'd have a free right turn at the red light to access that roadway. So in this process, they would look at that developer and come up with a statistic based on the number of trip generations from that development, and they would fund widening that roadway from that local road where it intersects with 13. So this really helps accelerate and improve, some of these infrastructure requirements, and not only just for the roadway, but we're going to lock them in with transit, bicycle facilities and pedestrian investments as well. Next slide, please. Oh, there's my little flip with the 20-year. Okay, next slide. So lastly, one of the integrated land use and policy planning initiatives that we work with is through the governor's, their strategy and priority districts. A lot of times when there's a business that is coming online, we will have the governor's office will contact us as far as, you have this business coming in and they really want to make sure that, we have the capital there, they have the access with the transit to get their workers there, that there's a market readiness there to help support this economic development there. Again, we work with these businesses and we try to align our fixed route services to support the commuter networks and make sure, they support these regional employment hubs and they get this labor pool of people from different geographic areas in Delaware. Again, we work with them to help prioritize transit, to make sure we have those investments where we need the connectivity and we can access some of those vulnerable and underserved populations. And how we do that is through the governor's strategy. We can help to leverage the infrastructure funding and utilize those TIDs and the state policies, such as the state strategies there to help, secure those transit contributions for all of the different developments that are coming into Delaware. Next slide, please. So I had to get my DART Reimagine in here, just a little refresher here. And this was looking at the increase in transit capacity statewide. Gosh, this is already almost 2 years old it'll be, but at the time it was about a third of Delawareans had access to transit. And by the time the DART Reimagine started implementation in 2024, and it's essentially a 5-year business plan, when it's done, it'll increase to half of Delaware residents will have access to transit. It could be fixed route, it could be microtransit, could be a different type of transit delivery. And next slide, please. So this is just, I thought this was a little bit interesting. It kind of broke it down in a workflow to look at the different phases, planning. We look at how we can integrate the multimodal and have transit included with the comprehensive, plans, the MPO plans, the state strategy plans. Again, reviewing those individual developments and getting those infrastructures, making sure the transit supportive infrastructure is included, and different ways of seeking funding, again, through grants with the MPO, the different kind of partnerships that we have with the land use agencies. Sometimes we, we definitely do a service analysis function, and we have to reallocate our existing resources where we don't have productive services. We want to make sure that we're serving the markets that need the service more. And again, we definitely do pilots. Our microtransit service started out as a pilot service delivery option there, and it was successful, continues to grow. And we're going to continue with that and expanding. We have 2, and once DART Reimagine is fully implemented, we'll have a total of 11 microtransits, which is essentially an on-demand service within a zone, a smaller geographical area. And then phase 4, we continue to look at innovative service delivery initiatives and how we can integrate our services And we are working with Delaware Commute Solutions, and we're very hopeful for a innovative van pool pilot to happen in Sussex County next year, and looking at supporting economically, getting some of the workers to those coastal communities there. And, they have some unique scheduling there. It's not just a 9 to 5 kind of jobs, or, where you have different, it's not just a 5 day a week. So we're going to look at exploring a van pool pilot next year with DECS, and seeing what we can do. And next slide, please. I think we're at the end. Yes. So my message here is, these partnerships really drive the progress and really contribute to the economic engine to the state of Delaware and those pillars in Delaware. I put our website there, and you can access the DART Reimagine report if you're interested in that and some of the background there. You can access it through DART for State or www.dartreimagine.com. And I put my email address there. I encourage you, if you need more information or if you think of something, please contact me. I am Kathy Smith, and my colleague Tramika Cherry Wall is the planning and scheduling manager, and she is more actively, she attends those DelDOT project development coordination meetings, and her team attends those plus meetings. So she can really give you the intel on what's going on with those programs. So I thank you. I'm not sure if we've run out of time here, or if there are any questions.
Yes, Kathy, what a great overview. And I really like what you had said about reframing the whole conversation around public transportation, because all of the things that go into having the workforce, the mobility for that workforce, the commerce and the businesses, and then also, like you said, the tourism and things. It's just, sometimes I believe people don't understand what it takes in order to get people from point A to point B, and what the options are within Delaware. So thank you for that update. And yeah, I didn't see any questions in the chat, but I wanted to open it up. If anybody has questions, we can do that. And since I don't see any questions, what I did want to say is about, tying it back into Delaware Commute Solutions, since we are a service of DART, and you can be rewarded when you do clean commute. So that is, if you are taking public transportation, you're walking, you're biking, you're carpooling, your van pooling, and even the days that you are able to work from home, they are considered a clean commute, and being rewarded for that. When you are a member, you can actually earn points and then redeem them for different rewards throughout the year as different gift card drawings that we have throughout the year. And we have some different campaigns that we send out to our members to partake in throughout the year. And I don't see any other questions. So what we're going to do is actually, we'll send a follow-up email to all the attendees, and then we will have a recording of the session. We'll have some of the links that DART shared with us in that follow-up email. And then if there are any questions, you can always reach out to, like Kathy said, she or Trey or anyone in Delaware Commute Solutions. And these are our contact. And like I said, all of this will be in the follow-up email to you. So I think we're done for the day. And
Okay.
if you have anything, do you have anything else, Kathy? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I thank you for your comments. And I'm excited that you called on. I was trying to get a different angle, not the traditional transit presentation.
And I like that. It gives a new perspective, because people understand then the broader sense of community partnerships, how transportation plays into all of that within the,
Right.
like you said, the economic driver for, within the governor's office as his goals and things like that. So I think it's excellent. So thank you.
Oh,
All
thank
right.
you.
We'll close out the day and then we, again, will follow up with an email and you can reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.